It's Wednesday, December 21st. Merry Christmas. I'm Joe Abbate. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and for the first time, I've had an encore performance by a guest. We will be back in just a moment with the MX professor, Gary Bailey. He says he's got a lot of good stories. We're going to hear what he's got to say in just a minute. Stand by. We'll be right back with Vintage Motocross Q&A. Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Abbate, and my guest this evening is the MX professor, Gary Bailey. Gary, thank you for joining me tonight.
Yeah, it's just glad that you're having me back, man. The last time we talked was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was, and you had a lot of great stories, but much like, every guest I have, Gary, after I speak to them or we do the interview or we do the show, I always wind up calling them and thanking them for doing the show. And it's always the same, 100% of the time. They'll always say the same thing that you said. After we got done, I remembered a story that I wanted to tell you. And I always tell them I'm going to have them back on, but I don't always get a chance to do that. However, with you, I have made an exception and made the time to do that. So we're going to get right into your stories. But Gary, first, before we get started, I got to thank some of the people that make this show possible. Motion Pro, some of the best tools, cables, and controls since 1984. Vinco, keep the ride going with over 1,000 products in their catalog. Racer X Magazine, the best magazine for motocross on your newsstand, now also available online. Preston Petty Products, the International Motocross Museum, Tiny's Towing, Northwest Mako CZ, and of course, Full Circle Racing. And now we can get back to the Professor Gary Bailey. Hey, Gary, you sent me a list. You made my job pretty easy today. And the first thing you had was, let's see, it says, I want to tell you some good David stories. So if you got a good David story, we could start right there, and then we can go on to fire extinguishers and ice racing and all sorts of things from there. Hey, don't forget to keep sharing the show, everybody. Share the show whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, comment Motion Pro, and somebody's going to win a beautiful little ruler just like this, very handy to keep in your toolbox. Keep sharing the show. It'll be a random share giveaway. Gary, what happened? Tell me a good David story.
Oh man, this one probably tops all of the ones that I could think of, and there was a lot of them.
Really?
David's about 12 years old.
Yeah.
I'm driving a motorhome, 24-foot with a 24-foot trailer behind it.
Mm-hmm.
With my workshop and carrying my bikes and stuff. And we're on the turnpike. I believe it's in Indiana, and we're cruising along, doing about 60 miles an hour on the turnpike. And I said, Dave, do me a favor, go back and get me something to drink. And he just keeps sitting there. And I go, did you hear me? He goes, yeah. And I go, you need to go back and get me something to drink. And he said, well, why don't you get it yourself? And we always kidded around a lot. So I'm all good with this. And,
yeah.
And so I'm like, dude, no, I'm serious. I'm thirsty. Get me something to drink. And he just kept sitting there. And I go, oh, so you want me to get it myself? Well, the whole time we're talking, I'm checking the steering wheel. Of course, I've been on cruise control, and I'm checking the steering wheel, and I'm letting go. But he doesn't know this, but I'm letting him go up to see how far the motorhome goes before it even veers off the road. And good news is there's not a lot of traffic around, so I'm not worried about that. We were pretty much traveling by ourselves. And so about the time I said, seriously, give me something to drink and grab me something to eat. And he goes, well, you can get it. And I'm going to go, okay, you're a little smart ass. All right, so I'm going to fix him. So I literally don't touch the wheel. I get out and I start walking toward the middle of the motorhome where the refrigerator was. And he's like, what are you doing? And I'm doing what you told me to do. You told me to get it myself. And so while I'm walking back there, I'm kind of looking at the road, right, just in case it starts fading a little bit. And I open up the refrigerator and I get me a drink out. And he's like, now he's going crazy. He's just like, Dad, come on, you got to get back. What are you doing? And
yeah.
So looking, it's still going straight. So while on the way back, I opened up the cabinet. I get me a bag of Fritos. Boom, out of there. And he's like now completely freaking out. And I get back and I sat down in my seat, and he's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you did that." And
I
I go,
can't believe you did that.
"I can't believe you didn't give me something to eat." And so, yeah, that was pretty funny. Probably one that sticks in David's mind, and it's one that's like, I can't believe I pulled it. So,
I mean, actually, it's funny, Gary, but it's frightening at the same time.
oh, it could have gone bad, but sometimes you do things that could have gone bad, but they don't.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a good story. So yeah, a lot of good things. Another one that really sticks in my mind: '86 Motocross the Nations in Italy.
Hmm.
We're in the room the night before. Actually, it was before practice day. I don't think it was the day before. It was practice day, and that night, Johnny O'Mara, who's
Yeah.
Johnny, obviously very good friends, he has taken a fire extinguisher and he took it and he kind of shot it underneath the door in our room. And we're like, well, you little shit ass. And he kind of hit it and run. And so I go, huh, okay. Well, we go to look for a fire extinguisher. Paybacks are hell, right? So we go
Sure.
to look for a fire extinguisher, and he's taking the ones off the wall in that our level that we were in. And I go, okay, so Dave, I'm gonna find one. So I went down one of the other floors and I got a fire extinguisher. And I come back, and David and I walk over to Johnny's door, and we literally let it go underneath the door. I mean, just the whole extinguisher. I wasn't saving nothing. Well, they're hollering like, no, 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 don't. So finally, they open up the door, and their room is completely covered in this way. I mean, everything. Well, to make the story even better, and the reason they also had a window, so they were able to open and get out on the balcony because they couldn't even hardly breathe inside there.
Right.
So we're looking at everything in the room is white. So we're just kind of laughing it off and all like that. Well, the next morning, Johnny comes down with his gear bag, and as he sets the gear bag down on the floor, he kind of drops it. There's this big of white stuff, and everybody's laughing because everybody had kind of heard the story already. And the worst part is he had just laid out all of his riding gear for that day, and so everything's covered in white. It was a pretty funny story. Roger didn't see any humor in it at all.
Was he there? Did he see what was going on?
Roger was pissed because he knew the story and what happened, and he was pissed because the management was pissed, but a couple of fire extinguishers going off inside their motel is probably not really cool. So, yeah,
No.
So they weren't too happy. Roger wasn't happy, but everybody that's sitting there at breakfast in the morning and knew the story was just laughing so hard they couldn't even stand themselves. So, yeah, so that was a good, fun story, and there's just so many of those. David and I spent a lot of time together, and had a lot of great times. One other one that's really kind of great. When I first moved to Virginia, about a year after we were here, the big lake at Sugar Tree, it frozen. And I always checked it. We'd throw big rocks out on there to see how solid it was.
Sure.
And I decided we were going to go down there with this mini bike and ride on the lake with the mini bike. And David's like got no interest in this at all. He's going, this is a really bad idea. So we go up the top, come down the hill, and fortunately it was a good gradual into the lake. And we into the lake, and of course you got to have your feet down. And when you hit the ice, you're just kind of skating a little flat track and skate until you finally stop over on the other side of the lake or somewhere. So finally I get David out there, and David goes out and he does a little because it's kind of if Dad does it and he doesn't fall through it, it's no problem for me. So he's out there and we're having a great time. And this one time I started as fast as I could go, and I'm heading down to the lake, and where the water's coming in, it's thinner. And of course I'm sliding and I can't stop. So it's like, oh, no. And then next thing I know, it breaks through the ice, and the mini bike goes in, and I'm in, and I'm just like, ugh. Good news.
Did it go on? The mini bike went right underwater. You and the mini bike?
The mini bike's gone. It's gone in the lake. And the good news is it's only about 5 feet there, so I'm almost neck high, going, trying to get out of there, and managed to get out of there. And then we got a tractor, and pulled the tractor out there, and put a hook down, and hooked the bike, and lifted the mini bike out of there. And anyway, a great story, a lot of fun. Just crazy things you do, and you go, these things could go really bad, but at the time when you're having so much fun, you don't think.
Yeah. No, I guess not. Now, you mentioned Lake Sugar Tree
Yes.
and down that area. the Coombs family was down there. They had a track there as well, or was it that track?
The Coombs were there. That track? No,
No.
no, not a straight
Okay. Well,
track.
then I got my stories confused. I guess they had a track in another area down there, and I just wanted to know if you guys had crossed paths with the Coombs family while they were promoting races down there, and did you race
Oh yeah,
along with Davey at
and
that time?
the track. Are you thinking of you thinking of the track where Bob Gill did the jump over the lake? Is that when you're thinking about?
Could be.
Yeah.
I just wanted to no. I just wanted to see if there was a corresponding story with
No,
Davey and the Coombs family that had to do with you and Gary, and did you
no.
guys race together at all at that time?
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, obviously there was, both doing races and stuff, but not together like that. So I
Okay.
don't know where that was going, but
I don't know where it's going either. You know what, Gary? You had to jump on here. We jumped on here quick. We didn't have much time to prepare,
yeah,
so
no,
we
we're
figured
good. We're good. So
we'd shoot from the hip a little bit and see where this little interview was going to take us. You know what we're going to do? We're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear from Vinco, and then we'll be right back with more Gary Bailey.
Vinco, who already has a full line of vintage parts, now has air shocks that are an exact duplicate of the original air shocks so popular in the late 70s. So whether you're looking to build a full racer or museum showpiece, these shocks will give you that incredible 70s look and improve your bike's performance. These new air shocks are fully rebuildable with Vinco rebuild kits, and all shocks are hand assembled in the USA with all new components. Every component is brand new. Just like the originals, our air shocks are adjustable with 2 chambers, high and low pressure, giving you tremendous flexibility for settings of your bike suspension. The Vinco air shocks come fully assembled and ready for installation. Just add air or nitrogen. The kits include the manual and spacers. Visit Vinco.com to check out the air shocks and all that Vinco has to offer to help you get back on track and to keep that ride going.
Back in the studio with Gary Bailey, and I'm sure he's got some more great stories here. You know, Gary, you were telling me one time you had to drive from California to Washington. You had 4 riders and 6 bikes in a van. Who were the riders? What was that trip like?
that was an insane trip. Mostly because I was working in the grocery store and I was working 6 days a week, and I had to actually ask for a couple of days off. We did a straight drive, and it was from California up to Spokane, Washington. The reason we're going up there was a race, and it was like a $1,500 purse, but back then that was huge. So I'm
sure
$1,500 purse, and for me it was like the biggest thing was it was $250 for winning each class, and I'm there like always riding 3 classes. So I'm thinking if I get up there and make $600, dude, that's like 5 work weeks.
That's like 5 weeks in a grocery store, huh?
Yeah. So I mean, it sounded really good. So we load my van up. I've got a Ford van. It's like a '69 Ford van, and we started putting bikes in there. And if you can picture this, in this van, there's 4 of us. Okay, there's my brother Bob, and there's me, and there's my buddy Larry Taylor. And the other Pettigrew, he worked for Cycle News. Anyway, Pettigrew, I can't remember his first name. So anyway, we decide we're all going to go. Well, my brother wants to ride, so he's got his bike in there, and Larry's got 1 bike in there, and Pettigrew decides, well, yeah, I'm gonna race 125. So I said, well, if we can share a bike, we'll put bikes in there. So the last bike we put in there, we literally had to take the front wheel off and stand it up on end, just so we can kind of get the back door closed. So those vans, I don't know how many people remember this, but the engine was in the middle of those vans between the 2 seats.
Sure.
And so what are 4 of us going to do? It's a 10.5-hour drive up there. What are we going to do? Well, let's see. How about, no, excuse me. It was not. It was 22 hours up there.
From Southern California to Washington? Yeah, I believe that.
22 hours. Okay. And so I'm going, holy crap. So, and I'm sure they approved of this. Right behind where I lived, there was building some houses there. So I go, oh, I got an idea. We'll just borrow one of these doors. There's a hollow core doors that they used to use on all of it. And so we went over there and we borrowed one of them, and we laid it on top of the motorcycles. with a sleeping bag over the top of it. So one guy had to lay there the whole time over the top of the motorcycles, and one on the motor and one the two. So, and we would switch frequently, so everybody got a chance to go out. So straight drive up there. We get up there. Everything went good. We did the races. I won all 3 of my classes, so I picked up $600. My brother got second in the open class, so he took his $100, whatever it was, and took that. And then Taylor got third, and I think Pettigrew got a second or a third. So basically, we ended up going away from that place with about $900 of their money, and they weren't very happy. As soon as it was over, we got our money, right back in the van, head back down to Southern California, and because a couple of us had to be at work. So
what bike were you riding back then? Was that on a Greaves, Gary?
I was riding Greaves at the time. I was actually riding Greaves, and I was riding a Sachs in the 125 class. So I had my open bike and my 250 Greaves and the Sachs motorcycle that I was riding. And my brother was riding Mako. Larry Taylor was riding a Botaco, and Pettigrew was also riding the Sachs as well. So that was a fun trip. Back in the day when we just loved doing this stuff and it was so much fun. Larry Taylor and I went down to Mexico one time. They were having a Grand Prix down in Mexico, and I'd signed up for all 3 classes there. And on Saturday, we ran the 125 and the 250 class, and then the open class was on Sunday. And so I ended up getting, I won one of the classes and got third in the other one of them. And Larry got to ride. So we got a riding in, and the only reason we were staying was for the open class the next day. Well, I was talking with Larry going, dude, you don't want to get to ride, and I'm only going to get to ride one class in this thing. Hey, let's go to Castec Park. Well, Castec Park is in north of LA.
Yeah.
So we go, all right, let's go. We can be there. We can be there by 8 o'clock in the morning. So we take it out and start driving, and we've driven a couple, 3, 4, 5 hours, and I'm getting a little tired, and I go, hey, Larry, take over and drive for me a little bit. So he starts driving, and I try and snooze a little bit. It started out switching about every hour. Then it went to every 30 minutes. And then it went, because neither one of us could stay awake. We were so tired. So we pull into this gas station. The guy says, I said to the guy, hey, is it okay if we park right here? And he goes, yeah, well, I'm leaving about 6 o'clock in the morning. We need to be gone anyway. So can you wake us up? Well, the guy left and didn't wake us up. So by the time we woke up, we're like going, shit, we ain't even going to make practice. So we just got in the van and we hauled butt, and we got up to Castec, and my sponsor at the time was Nick Nicholson for the Greaves. And we drove up, and he goes, what are you doing? And I go, well, we come to race. He says, I thought you went down to Mexico. And I go, I did. We rode on Saturday, and Larry rode, and I rode 2 classes, and I got a first and a third. And so, but Larry couldn't ride. So, and I was only going to ride one. So I decided to come up here and ride at least 2 classes. So I drove all the way up there, rode 2 classes. Larry got to ride, but that's the crazy stuff you do when you just love racing. And I want to race everywhere as much as I could. And so it's just another travel story that's just a lot of fun. The craziest, I got to tell you a Danny Chandler story, because very few people know this story.
Okay.
If you know who Danny Chandler, most people do. Know who Danny Chandler was. Danny did a lot of crazy things. Crazy things. I'm talking crazy, and scared the crap out of me more than once when I was with him. And this one night, we're getting ready to go to dinner. We're staying at Johnny's house up in Simi Valley, and we're getting ready to go to dinner to this Mexican restaurant. And Danny's with us because he'd been there practicing that day on the track at Honda Land. And so Danny goes, "Oh, I'll drive. Just get my rental car." So let's see. I'm in the passenger seat. David and Johnny are in the back with Johnny's girlfriend in the back. And as we get up to the restaurant, and if you got to get a picture of this, I'm just going to say we're going north, and we're getting ready to make a left-hand turn in this left-hand turn lane. And right as we're looking, the Mexican restaurant is right on the corner. All right. So when we're looking out of the car, the Mexican restaurant just to our left right here, just ahead. So as the light's getting ready to turn green, Danny goes, and this is a typical Danny Chandler, "You're not going to believe this shit." And we're like, "Oh my God, what the hell is he going to do?" So the left-hand turn light turns green. He steps on the gas, and literally the center, the island you're supposed to go around has a post on it that's saying, one way, pointing the arrow. He centers it up, dead centers it up, wide open, hits it, and the underneath of the car hits the curbing, and the car has a little boom, and there's people all standing outside of the restaurant, like waiting to eat. Okay, and we hit the thing, and everybody's looking this way. Danny goes up, turns around the back of the restaurant, pulls in there and stops, and we look. There's a trail of oil completely behind us. He's got hit the pan underneath the thing and busted the pan on the bottom of the car.
This is on a rental car, Gary?
It's not a rental car. So we're walking around, coming around to the restaurant, and everybody's standing on the porch going, "Dude, did you just see that? This car just come around the corner, and he was wide open. He hit the sign and went up over the curbing, and it was the craziest thing I've ever seen." And we're like, "Really? Whoa, we missed that." Nobody knows that. So we do the restaurant. We get out of the restaurant, and we're heading back, and he starts the car up, and it still runs. Oh, that's good. I wonder how long it'll run. I don't know. So we think it's got to be 8 miles back to Johnny's house. And so we drive this car all the way back to Johnny's house. There's no oil. I mean, the thing's quit oil and everything. I don't even look up why the car's still running. And he calls up the rental car company, and he goes, "Oh, we were in a parking lot, and there was one of those curbings, and we hit it, and we think we did something underneath the car because it's dripping oil. And so can you come pick up the car?" They showed up the next morning, gave a car, picked that one in the truck. Danny Chandler, many stories like that's Danny.
So now that car was that car must have been rented by Honda for you guys.
Yeah. When he goes, "You ain't gonna believe this shit," you're in for trouble. So yeah.
Hey Gary, one of our sponsors is Preston Petty Products. I want to thank Paul Standard and Preston Petty Products for all they do for us here at the show. Get over to PrestonPettyProducts.com today. You can get yourself some grips, hats, stickers, of course, all those famous fenders that we've all loved for all of our lives. I'm sure you use some Preston Petty products during your career, haven't you, Gary Bailey?
Yeah, he was a sponsor of mine, and when I had my Bultaco team, and pretty much most of the time I was riding Bultacos, I was using Preston Petty stuff.
Well, Gary, tell me about that Bultaco team. What was that about? Was that a bike you bought yourself, put together, or Bultaco sponsored you? How did it work?
I had approached Bultaco after I was doing my schools and traveling around, and I approached him about the possibility of me putting a team together, and we would travel the country and just do races and do the schools and stuff. And of course, at the time, I got Gary Chaplin involved in it, and I had Bob Harris in it. So it was those two guys plus David on the Mini, and we had bikes. I mean, they furnished me with 125, 250, 360. Chaplin had a 250 and a 360. Harris had a 250. And of course, David was riding his mini bike, which we painted this little Honda mini bike to look exactly like the Bultacos. And the cool thing about it, and David brings it up, that, "Dad, you were the first one to ever do this." Everybody wore the same exact gear. Every sticker on the motorcycle was the same. I mean, we pulled up and pulled all these bikes out of there. I mean, it looked like a factory team. Yeah. And it was cool because we go to these local races, and all of us were pretty good. So we'd pretty much dominate the whole thing while we were there. And then be doing a school as well. Usually before the race, we did a school, and we did the racing, and Bultaco sponsored the whole thing. And again, Preston Petty, when we put all the fenders on and stuff, we used Preston Petty fenders on all this stuff. And it was actually a really cool deal, and a lot of fun. And Bultaco really gave us a lot of support with that.
So how long did that last, Gary? How long did they give you the bikes? Was that just one season or a couple seasons?
Well, we did it almost 2 years, and then that's another interesting one. And the guys know, but Harris and Chaplin, they decided that they're going to start recording my schools. And basically it was so that they can learn more to help me more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, shortly after that happened, they decided, oh, by the way, we don't want to do this team thing anymore. We're just kind of like, we're over it, blah, blah, blah. And we had just bought 2 new motorhomes. We had 3 motorhomes, mine and 2 other motorhomes. Plus, we had a trailer that one of them pulled behind. I had mine with all my bikes and stuff in it, all of the bikes in it. And then we had another trailer that we built that I custom built it, and we could carry our spare parts in there.
Mm-hmm.
And a car went up on the back of it. So when we got somewhere, we didn't have to drive our motorhomes. We could drive the car to go where we wanted to. Well, they decided they didn't want to do this anymore. So I'm like, well, gee, thanks, guys. The very next week, somebody said, hey, did you hear Chaplin and Harris are having a school over? I go, what? Well, oh, yeah. And you want to hear the best part? They played your opening part of your school on a tape recorder so everybody could hear it. That was their intro to the school. And
I got to ask, I'm good friends with Gary Chaplin.
Yeah.
I have to ask him about this. So did you guys patch everything up, or was there some tension?
We're good friends, man. That was,
okay.
At the time, it was like, you guys are jerks and whatever. And
right.
Their deal didn't last that long either. Okay. And now they were getting their own bikes and stuff. I mean, there was no more Bull Taco stuff. That stuff was all still with me. So yeah, another one of those stories. It's like, well, thanks, buddy. But no, Chaplin and I are really good friends.
Hey, Gary, you're talking about the Bull Tacos, and you talked about Greaves a little bit earlier. Tell me about that transition. How did you go from one bike to the other? Because I mean, they are night and day.
It was night and day, and it was interesting because, in about 69, Greaves was kind of like slacking because like all the other British bikes and stuff.
Sure.
And even going into the Spanish bikes, Yamaha was kind of coming in, Yamaha, the Japanese were coming in with their bikes and kind of, taking away a lot of that impact that these other guys had. And so I was approached by Bull Taco and asked me if I would be interested in riding their motorcycles. Well, the biggest problem I had was Nick was always really good to me. I mean, Nick gave me what he could with the budget he had. And, it wasn't money and stuff, but he helped me a lot. And I had just left doing my schools, and I was down in Florida, and we were getting ready and I was building the track for the first Daytona race. And I'd been riding the Winter Series down here on my Greaves. And I said, well, I really would like to do it. And it was John Grace. And I said, John, I really would like to do it, but I got to talk to Nicholson first because he's really helped me a lot, and I don't want to just hang him out to dry. I mean, the guy's done everything he could possibly do for me. And so when I called Nick went, hey, dude, if you got a deal going, man, it's way more than what I can do for you. He said, I understand. He said, I understand. You don't feel bad about doing it. So I went, okay. So now I'm talking with John Grace, and I'm still haven't even made a decision yet. We're still talking, and this is the night before the first Supercross at Daytona. And
okay,
they really want me to ride Daytona on this bike. And I've never ridden one. And I was like, gosh. So we started negotiating, and I ended up getting a pretty good deal because I was like, well, yeah, I'll do it if you give me this and this and this and this. And they're like, okay, anything else? And I go, well, I'm going to need a new vehicle, and if you can help me with that. And they go, yeah, we can help you with that too. And I'm like going, okay, it's a done deal, because I wasn't getting anything basically from Greaves but some motorcycles and some parts, because that's all in the Nick could afford. So that night at 11 o'clock at night, I signed a deal with Bull Taco. This is the night before the Supercross, and never been on the bike. And so they went. The only bike that was even around was in the Armory where they used to have the motorcycle show. They went down to the Armory, pulled that bike off of the floor. John Grace himself, president of Bull Taco there, he and a mechanic that he brought with him, John's out there taking his jacket and his tie off and his white shirt and everything. While I'm not getting the track ready, they're getting my bike ready. And I'm telling you, I've never been on this bike. And I know they're pretty good because I've seen them, and that's this new model.
Now, what is this, 1971, Gary? It's got to be what, 1970, 71?
You remember the Pelican? The plastic fender front and rear?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was unique of all of them. In fact, that one started out being the Bultaco Bandito. Remember when it was black and white?
Yes,
And it
I
had
do.
plastic to it. Then the first 250s in that Persang, that's what they used
Yeah.
on it. Okay, it was that style. And so practice come, and I went out there for practice on this bike. First time ever road practice on it. Thing was fast compared to my Greaves. It was fast. Handling was a little different. I kind of had to get used to that. I went out there and won my heat race, and I thought, doesn't get much better than this, right? And I ended up getting third in the main event. Gunnar Lindstrom won it. I can't think who was second, but Gunnar Lindstrom won it, and I got third. So that was kind of my start with Bultaco, and it was a good relationship. I was 10 years with him. We did a lot of great things, had a lot of fun, and that was a good time.
Gary, let me ask you this. You were obviously with David throughout his career. We know him as a Honda rider. I know he spent some time on Kawasaki as well in the early years with Bultaco. Were there any other contracts that he was ever offered that you knew about, or that he turned down for a certain amount of money? Was there any opportunities that maybe you think today, well, we should have done that?
Well, again, let's talk about the time frame, okay? We're talking about David won the Amateur National Championship in 1978 on a Bultaco. That was run at a track right at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And the year before that, he, on his Bultaco, this was on his open bike, he won the 250 class in 78. In 77, the race was at Sugar Tree, and he won the first moto, hands down. Got ready for the second moto, and he hit the gate, went over the top of the gate dropped, landed on his foot, pulls the guy, lifts the gate up, gets his foot out, takes off. Of course, now the championship is gone because there's no way these guys are gone. He did end up finishing and getting the 6th overall for that, but so much for that. So Bultaco is now kind of at the end of its run because now the Japanese are really taking over this whole thing. So like all the Spanish bikes started going down. So we had an offer from Kawasaki. They had approached us. One, they were very interested in the schools, and two, they had seen that David was looking pretty good on the Bultaco his first year riding the Bultaco. And so he got an offer from Kawasaki. It started out just kind of in fact, I think he was one of the first Team Green riders. I think he was the first Team Green rider, if I'm not mistaken. And that's when Team Green was starting to get going. So they went with my school program. They went with David. David then had an opportunity to start riding one of the factory bikes. He was actually, we went to a race and we really wanted to ride our practice bike rather than the race Kawasaki, the factory Kawasaki.
Why is that?
He came in from practice, and I'm like, Dave, what's going on, man? Why you don't look good. You don't look like yourself. He goes, Dad, that bike is so fast. It's so hard to ride. I've never gone that fast. I don't know how I can ride it and go that fast. I've never been that fast. It's scary to ride.
And this is the 250.
My bike, yeah, it's better as far as like a lot of things, but it's just like even the suspension. He goes, if I hit that stuff on my stock bike, I'd probably wreck. But the suspension and the motor, and it's lighter, and it's hard to ride. And I said, I'm telling Dad, I could go out there with my practice bike, and I'll guarantee I can go faster than I go on that thing. And it wasn't because the bike wasn't good. It's because that's the difference of the level between this production bike and this factory bike. So he had some pretty good success on the Kawasaki. And then Roger DeCoster had contacted us about the possibility of him going to Honda. Mm-hmm. Well, being in Team Honda, I mean, let's just talk about it back then. Just being on Team Honda was like, that's like an honor to be even asked to be on, you know what I mean? And that's because the bikes were just so good. And so we finally ended up going with Honda, and he never really had any offers. Other than that, there was some consideration with Kawasaki when they found out we were going to make the change.
Yeah.
But I think it was pretty much a no-brainer. David was almost like, Dad, I don't even care if they pay me. I'll ride that thing.
Yeah, it was a good bike.
Yeah,
It was a
so
good bike.
that was good. And I think there's a couple of other things that people don't know. David's first earned number, do you know what it was? His first
I
AMA
do.
earned number?
I'm sorry, I don't.
You know, okay. You probably saw a lot of pictures of me riding number 93 because that's what
Yeah.
mine was for a long time. Okay.
Yeah.
David's first earned number, and this is we're watching it on the thing because like we're down to like the AMA is going to post this, and we do it number 93. My first earned AMA number was 93. His first AMA number was 93. You couldn't make that happen. I don't care what you did all year long. So from the first 93. So now David and I, here's David and I. David and I made a 5-year plan. Okay, 5-year plan. We're number 93. Okay, and he's earned that, which is in the top 100. That's not too bad for his first year riding and riding a Botaco. He earns number 93. So we go, our goal is to be in the top 50 next year. So we end up with number 45. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, we cut it. We cut it in half. Right for where? Our next goal was let's go for the top 25. We can get top 25. Earn number 23. Man, we're in where we want to go. Next year, top 10s, regular. Let's get a top 10. Got number 11. Next year goal was to go top 5, then work for number 1, be the best guy. We ended up going from 11 to number 1 because that's the year he won Supercross and that he won the national. Okay, number 1. So we basically cut half, exactly where our goals were. I mean, that's where we ended up being. The interesting part about it was, for me, was after he got the number 1 plate and then Rick Johnson come in where he's kind of dominated a little bit of the stuff. They ended up with number 6, which was the number we thought we'd end up before we went to number 1. So we had a goal and it worked really good. I think some people don't have goals or realistic goals. And I think having realistic goals give you something to really shoot for. And then when you accomplish that, David was always about, if David set a goal for himself in anything, just like he did in his wheelchair stuff, if he set a goal for himself, he met his goal. Whatever it was, he always met his goal. But because that's the kind of drive they had, and that's what people need to have. You need to have a realistic goal. Don't go for something crazy that's going to be a fail, which is going to deflate your ego. So go for something realistic. And we did, and it worked out really well. Well,
Garrett, we're going to take a break here from our sponsor, Motion Pro, for just a second. And when we come back, we'll have more from the professor, Gary Bailey. Can you come back? Can you come back, Gary? Will you stick around?
Yeah, I'll be right here.
Thank you. They've got chain alignment tools. I've got so much stuff here from Motion Pro, and their website, it's absolutely incredible with how many parts, how many tools, how many things they have to offer. I want to thank Motion Pro for being a sponsor for so long here for our show, Vintage Motocross Q&A. Gary, the schools, you taught a lot of schools. You talked about Gary Chaplin. I want to know if you have ever studied or have ever taken a look at some of the schools that are going on today. I mean, a good friend of ours, Donnie Hansen, has a school. There are some other guys out there who do offer some programs. Have you ever looked at some of their schools and compared them to what you did?
Yeah. Boy. I don't know if
What? You could say it.
I don't know if I want to say what I really want to say.
You can't say anything bad about Donnie Hanson. You could say whatever you want about somebody else.
No. I love Danny. Donnie's a good dude. I don't have anything negative to say about Donnie. I guess I look at things differently than a lot of these guys do.
Differently how?
I think that so many of them are, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. Do this, blah, blah, blah. You got to be a how guy, but I'm a why guy. I will not tell you to do one single thing unless I can tell you exactly why you need to do it that way. I will give you the opportunity to go, okay, whatever you're doing or whatever somebody else has told you to do, that's different than from what I'm telling you, okay? I am going to tell you how to do this, and I'm going to tell you why I want you to do it this way.
None of that.
And I'm also going to tell you what's going to happen if you don't
and how bad
do it the way I'm telling you to do it. Or asking you to do it, however you want to word that. And
when I
so
say blow it, how many little mistakes you're going to
let them do the section and do it, and then I come back and go, tell me, was I right? What did you feel? Tell me what you felt. Tell me what was different about what I just told you and what you were doing before. And we have a conversation about it. And I think that so many of these, there's so many guys teaching schools now. It's just mind-boggling to me. It seems like, number one, everybody can't be everybody is not a teacher.
No, everybody is not cut out to be a teacher. You're exactly correct.
And what I tell you what I admired about McGrath.
I'm just going to go.
I read somewhere, or I heard somewhere, I don't remember because it's so many years ago, okay? But I remember somebody saying something to him about doing a school.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him saying, man, I know how to go fast, but I don't know that I'm a teacher and can tell people how to go fast.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, I admired that guy so much. To go, yeah, you are number one, dude. You are definitely, you got it all. But to describe to somebody in detail exactly how you do it, that's not easy to do. And you have to really take time and analyze and look at everybody and every rider is different. We can look at the top 10 guys, and they all have something a little different. There's some little thing about each one of them that's better.
Yeah.
And if you don't know all the details and every single thing about it, I get frustrated when I watch. God, I don't want to. When I watch a video of this guy teaching, he said, "This is what I did all week long before I went to my Supercross race."
Yeah.
And that's all I did for 5 days, and then I went to a Supercross race. But he didn't leave out the part that I went to Supercross race and I didn't even qualify.
It's working.
I didn't even make the program.
This is an older guy who teaches classes now?
I'm not gonna step on.
Okay. I won't push that.
Yeah. And I look at some of these videos of these guys teaching just because I just want to see what they're doing. I want to see if they even know what they're doing. And so much of it is so basic. It's so basic that it's like, dude. Okay, that's some good information, but come on, let's get into the real stuff.
Yeah.
I don't hear people explaining when I watch this video. They're not explaining why. They're just telling you, oh yeah, when you go over the jump, to get the front end down, just make sure. Yeah, you got to get the bike flat in the air. Well, I do that. Well, we don't tell them that. Oh, tap the rear brake. Tap the rear brake. That is so. You want me to tell you about tap? Let me tell you about tap the rear brake. Okay. This was back in 1983, and where did it come from? It came from David and Johnny out trail riding, and I was videoing this whole thing. They're trail riding, and they're climbing this big, stupid, steep hill with ruts all in it and everything. That doesn't even like most people are going, hell, I ain't going up there. All right, and so they're going up it, and David and Johnny are doing it, and it's a little sketchy kind of at the end because it's got a little kicker lip on the top. And David goes up there, and all this is on one of my videos. In fact, it's on trailriding.com the original trail riding tips, which, by the way, is on my YouTube channel, which we done and talked about before. I have a YouTube.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. As soon as you finish up this thing, I do want to talk to you about the YouTube channel.
Okay, so David is going up there this one time, and he hits this lip, and he's straight. I mean, it looks like he's going to loop over backwards. He's straight up in the air like this, and the hill's kind of like this, and he's like, and it's like, oh crap, he's going to loop out, and all of a sudden the bike just goes, and the front end goes down, and he lands up top. And Johnny's sitting down at the bottom of the hill, and I'm sitting over here on the side of the hill, and I go, Johnny, did you just see it? He goes, dude, I thought he was going to eat crap. What happened? I go, I don't know, but that was insane. So David comes back down. And we're like, David, what the hell happened to the He goes, I just tapped the rear brake. And when I tapped the rear brake, the front end went down. Now nobody's doing this, okay? This is before anybody knew this. And so we're like, what? And he goes, I don't know, dude. I tapped the rear brake. It just dropped the front end, and I didn't loop out. So now they're trying to go up the hill, and they're working on this. Get the front end high and drop down. Let's see if we can try to loop out and not. And so they were playing on the hill. Anyway, that was how that kind of started. And I remember the next weekend we went to, and I think it was Anaheim we went to after that. And there was this big, stupid jump that threw the bike clear up in the air. And it was pretty sketchy. David ended up doing it in practice.
Yeah.
David did it in practice. There was several of the riders that were going, dude, you just see that? And it was kind of a conversation around about what he did. Well, about 3 or 4 months later, Rick Johnson is standing and we're talking alongside track. He's like, what are you looking at? And I'm like, I'm looking at all these guys. Everybody tapping the rear brake. Everybody's tapping the rear brake over these double jumps and stuff. And he goes, it's kind of ridiculous, huh? He says, it's like a child with a new toy. He goes, they've all seen this happen. They all heard about it. And now every jump, everybody has to tap the rear brake. And I'm laughing, just going, Rick, you got it right, dude. Like, they think it's
hang on a second.
Only way.
Hang on one second, Gary. We're going to be talking about your YouTube channel.
Gotcha.
I do want to know more about that, but right now I want to thank my sponsor, Full Circle Racing Limited. That's Tom McAllister. Get a hold of Tom McAllister, whether it's your on-road, off-road, vintage motocross. He's got some great deals up there on rims, spokes, tires, lacing, and truing. Be sure to get a hold of Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing. Also, another one of our new sponsors is Tiny's Towing. I'm hearing a lot of good things about Tiny's Towing. You can get a hold of them at area code 862-703-8500. That's 862-703-8500. And Tiny's Towing. He's running bikes anywhere from Chicago to New York, from New Hampshire to Florida. Tiny's Towing. You got a YouTube channel. You know, you're an older guy, Gary, but you are up to date on everything. You're happening. You know where it's at. What are you doing on YouTube? What are you doing there?
Yeah, I'm a happening guy. I like technology. I kind of just enjoy something new. I kind of enjoy a little bit of a challenge. And I started a YouTube channel, and I thought, I have all these videos that I've shot since David started racing. And most of them I never recorded over because we want to go back and look at it later. And so I have hours and hours and tons of videotapes from the VHS tapes to when I was shooting for Moto World and stuff, those big old huge tapes where you had to carry the recorder and the camera around. I did that for 3 years for the Moto World, and it was a lot of fun. But I do have a lot of videos from all that stuff, and it's kind of neat. And I've started editing them, and some of them just more natural, just editing like, how you get the camera and sometimes it's shooting at the ground and stuff. I basically take those shots out. And I've just posted all of the old races from back when David was riding, and now a lot of the newer stuff. And eventually I'm going to get to all the years that I worked with Cooper Webb and Barsha and Tortelli and all those guys. I mean, I've worked with a lot of top riders.
What's the name of the channel, Gary? So we could get, what's the name of the channel so we can get a look at it?
Gary Bailey MX. Just go to YouTube, Gary Bailey MX, and you're going to see more stuff than, well, I mean, just.
All right. Now,
It's so
you,
good.
you work with Sebastian. You work with Sebastian Tortelli too, and who else?
Oh yeah, yeah. In fact, Tortelli, when he started riding the Supercross stuff, he wasn't like real good, and I had the
Yeah.
opportunity. He contacted me and asked me if I could help him with a few things. There's one of the videos. I don't know which one it's on because I get so many of them. But there's one of them where I was working with him, and it was really a good, really good day. Good for him, good for me. A lot of fun. We were out at this private track. It was all sandy. It was really rough and gnarly and just whooped out and stuff. And so I watched him ride just a little bit, and I could see that he's manhandling the motorcycle basically. And I was watching him go up this section, and I said, "Dude, do you ride on the balls of your feet?" And he goes, "No, why?" And I go, so I explained to him why riding on the balls of your feet is better to make yourself lighter on the bike, to make yourself more efficient. And I explained this whole thing to him, and I said, "Let me see your boots." And I look at the bottom of his boots, and this is the God's truth, where he rides in his arches, and literally, most people wouldn't know this, but on the bottom of the motocross boots, how there's like a steel shank in there? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
And okay, so there's a steel shank in there, particularly in the older boots. I don't know if the brand new ones are that way, but in the older boots, there was a steel shank. And the foot pegs were literally, the marks were there, and you could see the steel shank. And I said to him, I said, "Sebastian, how long have you been wearing those boots?" He goes, "This pair is probably, I think this is 3 weeks." I'm like, "What?" Now remember, this guy he's won a world championship.
Yeah.
Okay? He's running a world championship. And I go, "Seriously?" He goes, "Oh yeah." He goes, "You got to see my garage." I go, "What?" He goes, "Well, when you come to my house, you'll see, I got them stacked over in the corner. I mean, literally
boots?
stacked. There's got to be at least a dozen or more pairs of boots sitting there." And I go, "You never ridden on the balls of your feet?" No. Okay, so here's the great part. I videoed his first couple times up the hill, which was, just ugly, almost crashing. It scared the crap out of me so much that I stopped him. And I went,
Okay.
because he's trying to go up there wide open because that's where he rides. And I go, "Okay, I want you to do me a favor." And he goes, I said, "I want you to go up there." And I showed him, I said, "Put your foot here, just get in the right gear and go up there, and I want you to ride the balls of your feet." So he heads up top of the hill. Obviously, first run, better than the other two. Third, fourth run, way good. I go, "Okay, why are you riding over on the side of the track over there?" "Well, it's smoother over there." I go, "Yeah, but you're not always going to have that. So I want you to go up the middle." He goes, "Dude, you know how big those holes in the middle?" I go, "Yeah, I can see them. Yeah." So he goes up the middle, and I'm videoed. I got all this stuff on video. Okay. So he goes up the top of right down the middle of the thing, straight as an arrow. No swap, no kick, nothing. And he comes back. I go, "So what's that?" He said, "Feels pretty good, actually." And I go, "Because now you're not abusing the motorcycle. You've got the arch in your foot, and you've got flexibility, where before it was all in your knees. That was the only thing you do is with your knees to be able to soak it up." And so anyway, we worked on this thing over and over and over again. And we spent 2.5 weeks, probably 5-6 days in that time. We went to Glen Helen, and he won the first moto, and he got a shitty start. When I'm talking 25th, 20th place start on the second moto, and won the second moto. Dude, I was in freaking heaven, dude. I was just like, "Oh my God, dude."
Really?
I'm like, "Oh my God, this is great."
Do you think a lot of that had to do with him riding on the balls of his feet and the technique that he had?
We worked on a lot of other things. That was only one of the things we worked on, but that was the biggest part because, well, I asked his mechanic. I said, how is his bike set up with the other guys on the team? He goes, "Nobody will ride his motorcycle. They absolutely will not ride his motorcycle. The thing is so stiff they can't even ride. They don't even know how the hell he rides the damn thing." That was because he had to have the suspension set up so stiff, and see, we got the suspension changed too, which is
Right.
another thing I'm sure that helped him to be able to be good at everything we did, and we talked about so many things, but it would just, I worked with Tortelli and it was a good time. We had some good success. But to me, this is what drives me. I love working with a rider. I love seeing the progress. The progress is like, when I do it, I'm getting paid. That's nice. But the reward is to see the improvement. And people had said to me, what does he know? He's an old dude. The guy's getting old. He doesn't. I go, I keep up with what's going on. I want to know why this guy's winning. I want to know how many instructors, coaches, whatever you want to call them, have you seen at the races with a camera? A camera? None. Zero. I always had it. We talked about before. Football used the visual from all the rest. They used that. Go back and look at it so that their team members can see what's going on. The good stuff, the bad stuff, what works, what doesn't work. And that's what video does. And for me to be able to analyze the video and to find the fine line difference between what this guy's doing compared to what guy's doing. Yeah. You want to be better than everybody else, and the only way you're going to be better than everybody else, first you got to be as good as them before you can be better than them. Yeah. So,
Gary, I don't think I asked you a question about this man the last time we spoke, but you rode a Bultaco, so did he, and it's one of the only schools I had ever taken, and it was absolutely fantastic. Jim Pomeroy. Did you ride along with Jim Pomeroy on the Bultacos? Did you guys cross paths during your careers?
You want to know something?
Yeah, I want to know about Jim Pomeroy, yeah.
Oh, the reason Jim Pomeroy was with Bultaco was because I got him the ride with Bultaco because
I want to know all about it, Gary.
Oh,
when did it?
Okay, I'm teaching schools. I go up to Yakima, Washington, or whatever that place.
Yakima, yeah.
Okay, and I'm doing a school. Well, Bultaco had told me, hey, while you're traveling, if you find any guys that really look good, let us know, and we'll get a hold of them and see what we can do, and to help them out. Well, I saw Jimmy ride. Well, it wasn't at the school, but it was at a race.
Yeah.
And I was racing with it too. And I saw how fast this kid was. And I was pretty impressed talking with him. And he just seemed like a really cool kid. So I got a hold of John Grace and I said, hey, dude, I just did this school up in Washington. And there's this kid, Pomeroy, Jim Pomeroy. And I said, and he was riding for one of their dealers up there. And I said, you need to get a hold of them and you need this guy because this guy is, I'm impressed. And so that's kind of where the whole thing went, how he got his ride with the factory is because I was telling him, you got to grab this guy.
Yeah.
Particularly up in that area, there's nobody up there that's even close to this guy.
Yeah, I mean, he was winning absolutely everything up there. And I forgot who it was that put the deal together where, or maybe it was Brad himself. Brad Lackey went up there to race with Jim Pomeroy. And they became friends, and it was Brad who told Jimmy, look, you're the fastest guy in Yakima. You're not going to, you're probably one of the fastest guys there is, but you're not going to win any championships in Sunnyvale and in Yakima. So you got to get down to Southern California and spread your wings a little bit and get out there. And that was probably right around that time where you helped him out with the Bultaco ride too.
Yeah. So so that was kind of cool how I ended up with the ride, and we were pretty good friends, and look at what he did.
And you know what? As I said, it was the only school I had ever taken, and it was absolutely awesome. And what Jimmy would do is he would explain what you should do, let's say on a little drop-off jump, and then he would do it on his bike, and then he would do it and then he would do the same thing on anybody else's bike there. 125, 250, 500, Mako, Bultaco, it didn't matter. He would do the same thing, same technique on a different bike in that same section. So you got the sense of it's not you, it's not your bike. This is the way you do it. Doesn't matter what bike you're on. And so the way he explained it when I took the class, and that was like all day long. It was like 9 hours.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you talk about this because I did the same thing a lot of times, but here were the best ones, and I have some photos of some of this, and when you see them, it's pretty hilarious. I'd be doing a roller whoop section, all right, like more like rollers rather than just whoops, and we had some here at Sugar Tree, and I'd say there was 7 of them, 7 big rollers, and I'd go down through there and go through it pretty good when I was riding really well. And so one of the kids would go, yeah, but you're on this 250 and it's da 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 da. And the dad's standing there, this kid that's telling me, and he goes, yeah, I'm sure it's a lot easier on a 250. And I go, really? Yeah, probably. And I go, which bike's your kid riding? And he's riding this Kawasaki 80. I have pictures of it. Riding this Kawasaki 80, and I get on this Kawasaki, and I just come through there, and remember, I'm pretty big on it, and it's just been, you can imagine me on this Yamaha 80, okay?
Sure.
And I go down through there and just kind of just like wheel tap them a little bit all the way through. I come back and I go, so what's the problem? I'm not sure what your problem is here. And everybody in the whole class was just looking at like, that was pretty cool. And then in that same section one time, I got a picture of a Kawasaki on a 60. And I went through this section. Everybody was just like, how did your suspension not even bottom out? But I loved jumping on somebody else's bike as soon as they said, yeah, but it's because you're riding blah, blah. And when I get on their bike and do it, that was just, I'm laughing the whole time at myself, just going, yeah, so what's your problem?
Well, you obviously your technique is very, very good. It worked, and you could do it pretty much on any bike to show that it works. And that was my point with Jim Pomeroy as well. Gary, we're going to take a little bit of a break here from one of our sponsors, the International Motocross Museum. We'll be right back with more stories from the professor, Gary Bailey. They still got a lot of cool stuff out there. You want some t-shirts? Bob Hanna, Roger DeCosta, Heike Mikla. They got some posters from Marty Smith, Bob Hanna, and a whole bunch more. Get over to www.internationalmotocrossmuseum.org and get some swag for yourself for Christmas. Speaking of Christmas, Gary, it's right around the corner. What happens at the Bailey house at Christmas time? Anything good?
Okay, it should be working.
There you go, Gary. Don't touch any more buttons.
No, I didn't, man. It red lighted on me.
All right. I was saying it's just about Christmas time, and I want to know what happens at the Bailey house at Christmas. Anything good?
Yeah, good food. And some cold weather. Well, I stay in the house, so it's not too cold in here.
Yeah.
Just try to enjoy all this Christmas. It's great. My mom's coming in from California. My mom, 98 years old. Yeah, dude, check it out. You're looking at me like, wait a minute, you're like 80 years old and your mom? What are you talking about?
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, she's here. I talked about my grandfather a little bit and what he'd done. And that's Mom is Tex Bryant's daughter, and so she's here, so that's going to be good. And she gets to see the grandkids, and she's pretty spunky, I'm telling you.
98, huh?
No, they left California, did a plane flight, got in at 1:00 in the morning in Georgia, He and my niece drove from Georgia up to Virginia. Then we were having a indoor race right here that Ryan Smith runs that does Sugar Tree. We got an indoor place, the Agricultural Center, and we run an indoor race. And she's like, "Yeah, I want to go see Riley," which is the great granddaughter, and want to see her ride because she's riding the little 50s. And so she goes there. They get back at 1 o'clock in the morning again. And all that night when they stayed in Georgia, she said, "No, I don't even bring my bag upstairs. We've got to get up early in the morning, so I'll just sleep in my clothes." And so, yeah, my mom, she's a trooper, man. She just keeps it going. And I tell you what, till her eyesight went bad, and even if that's not slowing her down much, but her eyesight's gone really bad. Unfortunately, they've declared her legally blind. But she can still see enough to do stuff, but still it's like her vision is like really bad. And,
Gary, you've mentioned it a couple of times that you're in Virginia, and one of our sponsors, and I'm going to be there, is the York Swap Meet in York, Pennsylvania. How far is Virginia from York, Pennsylvania? Is that very far?
Been there a couple of times. York, Pennsylvania. Let's see, when we drove up there, what is it to York, Pennsylvania? I'm guessing it's like 6, 7 hours.
Oh, is it that far? Because I was going to say, why don't you come up there? It's on January 22nd. It's on a Sunday. I'm going to be there. Barry Higgins is going to be there. Warren Reed, Martina Falta, and I mean 6 or 7 hours. It's kind of a long way for you. But if you weren't doing anything, we'd be more than happy to have you at the York Swap Meet.
I was there a couple of years. In fact, one year I was there when Super Hunky was there, and and I were there. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And so, I've been there a couple of times. It just depends on what's going on and what the weather is.
Right. Well, that's coming up January 22nd and 23rd. It's on a Sunday. The night before is the Potomac Vintage Writers annual banquet.
Yeah, and that's what I went up there for that, and then went to the swap meet thing. Yeah, it was a good time. Good people.
Yeah.
Good people up there.
Rick Simon, Super Hunky. Got a story about Rick Simon? You must have crossed paths with him a few times.
Rick Simon. Let's see. There's some stuff going across my screen right now behind me that I was hoping I was going to be able to use. Reminds me, we went to Lima, Peru. I went there and did a school. And schools are interesting when you go someplace like that because like more than half of them don't speak any English. Right. And they don't understand a lot of English either. And it's funny how you can go there, and I've been to several countries where obviously I don't speak all those languages. And we start out with an interpreter, but then I'm going, this is wasting way too much time because I got to say it, then they got to say it, and then it's like, no, we ain't going to do this. So it's funny how after like a couple of hours, they start understanding hand gestures. And like if you ride through a section and after you get done with it and you start trying to describe things and you're talking about, getting your head forward or maybe having your arm up or being on the balls of your feet. And after you've done a couple of sections, they start understanding it. And you can do a couple little hand gestures and point to your feet and like, oh, yeah, I got that part. And so it's kind of cool. So we go down there and Super Hunky and his wife go. And Chuck and Sharon Clayton from Cycle News go. The guy that put it all together, which made it so easy for everybody to go, he was the president of Braniff Airlines. Do you remember Braniff Airlines? They always had those the airplanes, and they were painted like really crazy colors and stuff like that.
Yes.
But he was the head guy for Braniff, so he'd just get us all on a plane and go down there. I went down there 2-3 times to this school, but Super Hunky and all of us went down there and did the school, had a great time. And I'd known Rick for many, many years because when I lived out in California, I was racing. Rick Simon, Mako, if you can't talk to this guy about anything without Mako coming into the...
Oh, yeah.
And I'm telling you, every review that he'd do on a motorcycle when he do a test thing, yeah, they're all pretty good. But my Mako... Mako was better. But my Mako had more power. My Mako cornered better. My Mako I'm like, yeah, Rick, get off the Mako thing.
Yeah.
But good, dude. I knew him like forever when he was Dirt Bike Magazine. Good guy.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of magazines, you know what? I got to give a little plug to one of our sponsors, Racer X magazine.
Hey, those are
I may
good
have.
guys too.
Oh, Racer X, absolutely. Scott Wallenberg, David
Yeah.
Coombs.
Oh, Scott. I know Scott. Hey, you know how long I know Scott? He
No,
rode
how
a
long?
Monarch. He rode a 125 Monarch at the school and it was at what's the name of that track? It was really a rocky course.
Up in
Maplehurst.
Wisconsin.
Maplehurst. You remember
Oh,
Maplehurst?
Maplehurst.
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I met him there, and we've been friends ever since.
Yeah, Scott Wallenberg, very interesting guy. His whole career has been motorcycles and advertising. Even
Yes.
from when he was a little kid, I had him on the show one time, and he told me how when he wanted a motorcycle, his dad put him to work for a newspaper or a magazine selling ads. And
Okay.
that's how he got the bike, and that's how he started racing. And it's funny how his entire life, since he's been 12 years old, has been selling ads in magazines and racing motorcycles. So
That's cool.
yeah, Scott Wallenberg is really, really good people. And one of these days, maybe I'll have Davey Coombs on too when I get a moment. But for today, Professor, I think that about wraps it up. Unless you got something else that you want to talk about, because I know you. If you forget, you'll call me back and say, Joe, I want to be on the show again. I forgot to tell you the story about.
I have two things I want to talk about.
What's that?
The first thing is Travis Pastrana. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Not only did I work with Travis for 13 years, the whole time he was in doing motocross,
Right.
But this guy is such a gentleman. He is such a class act. Yeah, I mean, when I knew him when he was just turning 9 years old, and we started at the schools then, so polite every single time that you would tell him something, he would say, thank you. I mean, and I got it quick. Travis came to school. His mom was always there. Mm-hmm. His mom would come, like we'd stop to talk. His mom would unstrap his helmet, take his helmet off every time we stopped. He walked right up front of everybody, and right there, I mean, he's right there in front of me, and he's listening to everything I say. I mean, this is a kid on a mini bike. He's listening to everything I say. And when I get done, sometimes he go, okay, so let me understand what you just said. He's a little kid. Let me understand what you just said, because I want to make sure that I understand. And I would go and explain it to him. Okay. So he go back over, his mom puts the helmet on. I watched this for 2 or 3 days at school. It was like a 5-day class. And I said, Travis, have you ever put your helmet on yourself? He's like, no. I said, well, can you? And he goes, I don't know. I've never tried it. So he puts his helmet on. Yeah. And I said, I'm going to show you how to strap your helmet. And so I had my helmet on. I said, do exactly what I did. I said, take the 2 straps, take the little loops. I push through there, and he pushes through there. I said, now split those 2 little loops we got and bring the loop back. And I'm showing it, and he does it. And so he gets it all. And so I tell everybody this. So he takes off. He does it. So the next time we get ready to stop, Debbie walks over there, and she starts to take his helmet. I said, Debbie, no. The helmet's coming off. He can take it off. So he gets the helmet off. Well, he's having a little trouble putting it back on. Now, remember, this class is 20, 25 guys, okay?
Right.
So Travis is trying to, so tell you what, guys, we're going to sit here until Travis gets his helmet on. And when Travis gets his helmet all strapped up, we're going to go ride again. And from that time on, he always did his own helmet. Debbie was always like, no, but that's what I don't care. But this kid today is the same polite, appreciative. He's appreciative of everybody and everything that has ever done anything for him. He is appreciative of it. I have a problem with these guys today. I've worked with a few of them, and they act like they don't even know me once they're just great, or they think they're great. And I cannot stand when people do that. I go, dude, I don't know who you think you are, but you're the same
Same guy you were before you.
You just got blessed with a talent, and
Yeah.
So Travis, I just got to put out Travis's. Oh, by the way, FYI,
Yeah.
Travis is going to try to qualify. Get this, for the Daytona 500 this year. Yes,
Really?
sir. Yeah. Look at me. Look at the way you're looking. You're like, what? Yeah. He's got a ride with the 23 team. And so he's all excited about it. And he actually invited me to go hang out with him for the week dinner. So I'm pumped.
The Daytona 500 car race.
Yes, sir. You got it. I know you're.
I'm not really up on NASCAR and Daytona. Who's the 23 team? Who's that?
That's the team that Michael Jordan started.
Oh, okay.
It's with Denny Hamlin, the number 11, and they got the 23 and the 45 car. And so I don't know he doesn't even know what the number of car he's going to drive yet, but it's going to be a Toyota. And he's going to qualify for the Daytona 500.
Wow. So you know what, Gary?
When he told me this, I said, hey, listen to me. You got to understand, this is not a rally car, and you can't run into the damn walls.
Yeah. Well, obviously you can't argue with the success that Travis Pastrana has had with the choices in the career he made. You think he should have stayed with motocross a little bit longer in Supercross?
No, I think he made the right decision.
You do?
He never would have got the notoriety that he has now. I can tell you now, I can talk to people that don't know anything about motocross.
Yeah.
I can ask them if they know who Travis Pastrana is. Yes,
and they do.
You know who Ricky Carmichael? No, I don't never heard that name before. But so he went the right direction with what he did. I wish he would have stayed with motocross another year or two, because I think we could have won a championship. And I don't know if you know it, but I can't think of the year, but Carmichael, that one year when Travis was kind of right there with Carmichael, Carmichael admitted that he's the only guy that he was worried about beating him that year. And that's why he wouldn't let me video him when they were at the practice track or anything, because he's like, no, if Travis gets his act together, he's the only guy that's going to beat me. So that was kind of cool.
Interesting words from the greatest of all time, really.
My last thing is, guys practicing. I have a problem when people go practice, because I don't think they practice. I think they ride. And if you want to be better and really improve, first you got to know what you're trying to work on to improve. And I look at a rider, and when I always ask a rider, I said, and I'm just going to pick a name out for today. If I'm working with somebody right now and I see him go through a section, I stop by and go, so do you know anything about Tomac? Yeah, a little bit. What do you like about him? Well, he's fast. Well, that's pretty obvious. This is no brainer. I want to know more about it. What else can you tell me? When he goes in the corner, can you tell me what his body looks like? Can you tell me what his head looks like? Can you tell me, by the way, what finger does he use on the clutch? Oh, I don't know. Do you know if he uses the clutch? No, I never pay attention to that. I'm like, dude, you got the best riders in the world right there. All you got to do is watch, freeze frame it, stop it, look at it, you can see. I mean, how can you not see that? You got to analyze a ride. I want to be like that guy. Okay, then you got to do and look like that guy before you can be like that guy. And if you don't even look like him, well, obviously you can't perform the way he does if you don't look like him. So, that's the way I am with people. So I'm like, practice. Practice makes perfect. No, it doesn't. Only perfect practice makes perfect. You got to learn how to practice. You got to do the right thing. And you're not going to do it once. You're not going to do it twice. You're better do it 50 times. 50 times perfect, or as close to perfect, or be happy with it. And if you can't do that, why are you out doing laps on the racetrack? Well, I just did a 20-minute moto. I saw you do a 20-minute moto. I could run as fast as you were in some of the sections. I can't even run. But it's like people, you don't practice. You're out there riding. Practice is working on a specific. Just take one thing. Every time you go riding, pick one thing that you want to improve on and get it better. And I like playing golf. I'm not good at it. I like playing at golf. And and I watch a lot of videos, and I try to seriously go out on one day and take just one thing and go, let me try a couple of these things or one of these things that I just heard about, and let me see if I can make it. Oh, but it's tough. Oh, it feels awkward. It feels weird. It's like, I know that. I hear it all the time when I'm telling people to try something, but it feels weird. Anything that's new is going to feel weird.
Sure.
That's normal. You got to, but is that the way the best guy doing it? Is this the way your number one rider does it? Yeah. Well, I don't care how weird it feels. Figure it out.
Yeah.
So practice. Be smart, and you're going to have a lot more success, and you're not going to be laying on the ground as much, and you're going to be a lot happier.
Gary, one more time, the YouTube channel. What's the name of it?
Gary Bailey MX. It's pretty simple.
It is pretty simple, huh?
And it pops up, and there's going to be more video on there than you can possibly imagine from back in the day till now. Looking at some of the 80s races where there was 6, 8, 10 guys that could win at any single time. Those were the days. You didn't have 1 or 2 guys running away with it. Really,
Gary, I want to thank you again for being my guest today. We got to jump for now, but I want to wish you and your family and your mom a Merry Christmas. And you know what? I'm going to give you a call. We'll talk a little bit more. Maybe we could get you to come up to the York Swap meet in January. That'd be a lot of fun if you can hang out with us there. Okay.
Yeah, everybody.
Thank you so much, Gary. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, thank you for having me on again, buddy. I really, really, really enjoyed it. Merry Christmas to you and your family.
You're very, very welcome.
And the rest of y'all watching, have a blessed and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Gary. See if I can get this right now. I think I could. My guest tonight has been Gary Bailey. It's always a lot of fun speaking to him. We've got a couple of things to talk about here. We still got a great book, Discovering Sticks Dave by Keith Geisner. You could always get a copy of that. And the Motion Pro book. Well, I call it the Motion Pro book. It's not the Motion Pro book. It's When Honda Went Dirt Tracking. It's by Chris Carter, who is the founder of Motion Pro. This is a fabulous book. Over 600 pages, over 65 interviews. You might want to get a hold of that whenever you get an opportunity. Also, my guest next Wednesday is going to be David Dewhurst. We'll be talking about his new book, The Golden Era. Motocross, The Golden Era is the name of it. But for right now, once again, I hope you enjoyed the Gary Bailey interview. Merry Christmas to you and your family. And we'll see you next time on Vintage Motocross Q&A.